I had a gentleman, and he had contacted me with a bad pain in his back that nobody could diagnose or cure. And I looked at the chart. Everything in the chart was compatible with Saturn. Everything was like Capricorn rising, of course. Everything was ruled by Saturn. And Saturn was in a happy place, but it was badly afflicted. But he was the ultimate Saturnian. And his problem wasn't an excess of Saturn. It was a weakness in Saturn. He was having a problem with his bones and his back. And it was really bothering him. So I said, well, don't usually do this, but try Sapphire. And he did it right. It has to be done on we won't show the finger. It's the flip the bird finger. And don't do that. But I had him, you have to do it on a certain day for the first time. Put it on for the first time on a certain day. He wrote me and he says, I've had this on for a week. My back problem is completely cleared up. Unbelievable. He needed his own ray. He was a Saturnian, but it was somehow knocked out of commission.
It's amazing how much we've lost this kind of knowledge. We just throw on jewelry because it looks good and matches our outfit or, whatever we're doing. So that's fascinating.
Hello, I'm Judith Hill. I've worked with medical astrology since 1983, following a decade and a half in a full-service astrological practice. And I witnessed firsthand just how powerful it can be. I'm very excited to teach about medical astrology of the sun signs, their assigned organs, strengths, and potential health vulnerabilities in my workshop entitled The 12 Zodiac Signs in Medical Astrology, Bodily Rulerships, Functions, and Symptomology. This workshop is part of Astrology Hub's upcoming Health, Wealth, and Fulfillment workshop series, and I can't wait to share with you the tips, idiosyncrasies, special preferences, and all kinds of interesting facts about the 12 zodiac signs that will be very practical indeed in your life work with astrology and your self-knowledge. So I hope that you will all enjoy this wonderful workshop coming up. To register, just go to astrologyhub.com/Judith Workshop.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome. I am so happy that you are here because you are in for a very, very special treat today. We have internationally renowned researcher, the award-winning author of 13 books, and one of the world's foremost teachers in medical astrology here with us today. Please join me in welcoming Judith Hill as we do a deep dive into the link between astrology and crystal healing. A couple things before we begin. Judith is also one of the featured master astrologers in our current Health, Wealth, and Fulfillment workshop series. You can join this series before Judith does her workshop on health. And you can learn more about the entire workshop series by going to astrologyhub.com/workshop. And she's the teacher of a mastery class with us entitled Planetary Transits from a Medical Perspective, which you can learn more about at astrologyhub.com/medical transits. And finally, she's the founder of the Academy for Astrological Medicine. We're going to put all of the links to these things in the show notes, so don't worry about scribbling them all down. But now let's just bring our attention to Judith. Judith, thank you so much for joining us. I love having you on the Astrology Hub podcast. So thank you for joining us.
Oh, well, thank you. I just absolutely, totally enjoy being.
All right. Okay. Well, let's start here, Judith. Can you share with us how you first became interested in this intersection between astrology and crystal healing? How did you even make the connection? And what was the process of you digging deeper and finding the associations?
Well, for years as a medical astrologer, I'd be reading the texts and they would just say, oh, turquoise is good for this, or if you have a broken heart, wear this, or, little associations with your sun signs, the months, not the signs, and with gems. And it was never right enough for me. And then I found this old book, but there was a complete system of gem antidotes in India, used in India. And it's called Upaya. sometimes upaye, and it means really comes from the verb measurement, but it means planetary antidotes for problems you have in your birth chart. And it's a really very specific system where each planet is given a gem. And the gem is considered to capture and permanently project the cosmic color ray of that planet. So if you need that planet, you wear it. And you have to prescribe it in a very distinctive way. You wear it on certain fingers. It's a very, very developed system, but it's not hard to learn. So I started studying every single system of Upai I could find. There are several. And I actually compared them all in one of my books. And I really got into it and started experimenting. And I probably taught the first classes in America. And it's a very wonderful system. So you do have to recognize that the planets have cosmic color rays and that the gems can enhance and project these when you need.
Wow. Oh my God, that's fascinating. I'm already blown away, and I don't even know, 5 minutes in. So the gems are like little micro doses of the cosmic ray of a particular planet.
Yes. And that you put the gem under a prism and it will project that color ray, such as if you want a certain kind of blue color ray, which is the ray of Jupiter. Interestingly enough, it is projected by a yellow sapphire. Whoa. You want the blue ray, you wear a yellow sapphire, and you wear, you usually, there's a way to do it. You have to clean it and imprint it, and then you wear it either a certain period of time or for life, and you wear it for certain purposes. If you have a weak Jupiter, you want this gem, provided your chart will allow it. There's certain rules. And if you need some things Jupiter provides, like say Jupiter rules publishing. I'm also a vocational astrologer. Jupiter rules publishing. It also rules male progeny, male children. It rules fat. So if you're, really underweight, you might want to wear a blue sapphire, a yellow sapphire. It's a traditional for getting pregnant, the yellow sapphire. I have found it works very well in certain cases. Or if you're a publisher, I'm a publisher. So I went and got myself a yellow sapphire, and I wore it for many years on the appropriate finger. And so you can use them for any reason, not just medical.
Wow. Okay. So let's dive in. Is it best to just start going through some examples, or how if there's something in your life that you want to address and you're wanting to try an idea like this on, where would you start? Like, how would you even approach this?
Very simple system. This is the joy of it. It has there are different systems, but this is the most simple. You have to have your chart. So you do have to know what planets rule what signs. Everybody has to know. So that's basic. So find that out. Mercury rules Gemini and Virgo. So, you need to know those things. So you look at your chart and you look at the ruler of your ascendant sign and the rulers of the 5th and the 9th houses. And all three of those planets are generally, they're stones that are associated with them, and we can go through, are generally going to be helpful to you, generally speaking. They're not going to hurt you. Their rays won't hurt you. So if you need them, you can use them. So one of the most important things, if your ascendant ruler is having trouble, and a lot of people have their ascendant ruler is very difficult. Maybe it's placed in the 8th house. Maybe it's square Saturn. Maybe it's on the south node, and maybe it's wherever on the other side of the charts. They're lacking power or strength. Then you want to strengthen that ruler. So say your chart ruler is the moon, Cancer rising. So your ruler would be the moon, first house. And so the moon, maybe your moon's in the 8th house and square Saturn. And maybe your mother died early, and maybe you always suffered fatigue, or maybe you're always emotionally depressed, or you're lacking, you haven't been fertile, or you're dry, or you're weeping all the time, or something. And then you want a pearl. The pearl contains and projects the orange ray of the moon. Apparently, the ancient rishis figured this out. So the moon has an orange cosmic ray, and so the moon, you wear the pearl, and this would be a lifetime stone for your health, for your well-being, for your mind, because you do not want a weak ascendant, especially if it's the moon. Cancer rising has enough problems. It's so emotional. So you want to strengthen this ray if it's needed. Now, what happens if you have, Aries rising and you have Mars on the ascendant in Aries, trine Jupiter, sextile the sun? Well, you've got a brilliant, very strong Mars. What would happen if you wore the red coral projects the yellow ray of Mars? You would get too much Mars. The person's probably already hot-headed. They probably already have too much energy rising up through their head and accident-prone, but great athletes. This could make them much more, even too energetic, or become manic. So you have to know when something's too much or if you need it. Do you need it? So that's the best, easiest way to use the system. Do you need the ray?
Can you do this also with elements, or is it mainly around planets?
This system is planetary based.
Okay.
So when you become a very advanced medical astrologer, you can include, like with our Mars on the ascendant Aries examples, the person's also triple fire. Yeah, you can bring in the person's got too much fire. They are not going to need the yellow or the red ray. Red rays goes to the sun. Let's go through the rays. Would you like to do that?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And I know everybody wants to. So yes, let's go through the rays. And wait, one more question before we do that. Are every crystal and stone associated with some planet, or is it only that certain ones are associated with a planet?
In this system, certain ones.
Okay.
So substitute gems if you don't have the money, because we do have a problem here. In these cultures, the jewelers were also the astrologers. So often they would say you needed this enormous amount of carats. You have to buy this huge ruby and you can't afford it. Okay. So you can use, even in some villages in India, you can use like a blue glass bottle. You put water and drink the water. You want the blue ray. There are ways to get the blue ray if you cannot afford a gem. But the system now, however, we know that all gems must project some cosmic colors. So all of them have not been assigned. The systems of Upai that I have studied, they have the exact same rulerships, and they only give 1 or 2 gems per planet. And it's always the same ones that were probably available in India. But it doesn't, in none of Upai do I see turquoise listed. And yet I study other systems too. That's why turquoise is a very important gem in Native American and Tibet, East and West Himalayas. And it has the same uses. It's amazing. So I don't throw out the other gems, but when I'm using the Upai system and doing a gem prescription, I adhere to the system the best I can.
Perfect. Okay, let's go through the rays.
Okay. So we'll start with the sun. The sun is the red ray, and it is projecting from red rubies. People also use garnets. That's the substitute, not considered as good. The moon is pearl, the orange ray. Now, here's where some systems trip over each other. Some of the systems will say, well, you can also use a moonstone, which are very affordable. But the moonstone doesn't project the orange ray of the moon, it projects the blue ray of Jupiter. And so when you do the more scientific tests, they say, no. But some texts will say, yes, there's a little problem there. It's the only one. Mercury is the green ray. Nice, beautiful grass green, or emerald green. So you use the emerald. That one, the green emerald does project a green cosmic ray of Mercury. And we can also go into what these rays are good for. you want for this. But then we have Venus, which strangely they give the indigo ray to. You would think indigo would be quite Saturnian, but they give the indigo ray to Venus. And it's what they feel is accurate. And it's projected by a white diamond. So, for Venus needs, you use a white diamond. And this may be some reason why the diamond has become the favorite ring for marriages. The stone of love, stone of Venus. Somehow there's a lot of east-west trickling back and forth over the centuries of these traditions. Now then we have the Mars is not the red ray as it is in the West. Now, I do believe Mars also has a red ray. I've seen it myself. Mars causes inflammation. But in the East, it is the yellow ray, which produces bile and is very hot indeed. And it is projected by red quartz. And it's one of those gems you have to be very, very careful with. You don't go out and just buy red quartz. You have to be very careful that is going to work for that person and not overheat them. And it's usually used in combination with pearls to cool it off or some other combinations. Now, there are cases like some cases you do need. Now we then have the Jupiter. We've talked about Jupiter. Jupiter, you can use a moonstone. It projects the blue ray, but the favorite gem is the yellow sapphire. They also use the yellow citrine, which is quite affordable. Some of the books, some of the systems use this, the writers, but they do prefer yellow sapphire to the blue ray. And then Saturn is the violet ray. Quite interesting because on the color wheel of the signs, but the artist's color wheel, it's a real phenomenon in nature. The artist's color wheel over the 12 signs, violet and purple come right over Saturn's 2 signs, Aquarius and Capricorn. And so it is projected by a blue sapphire, not a yellow sapphire. Now this is a stone some of the professionals will not prescribe. You only prescribe the blue sapphire because you're going to get a lot of sapphire under very specific circumstances when a person absolutely needs it and Saturn is friendly in their chart, not going to cause harm. This is tricky. So usually if it is prescribed, it's prescribed with a diamond or an emerald because Mercury and Venus are friends of Saturn. So they'll have it in a ring with the blue sapphire in the middle, and diamonds on either side, or a diamond, an emerald, and a big blue sapphire in the middle. This is the real deal. These are prescriptions. They're done carefully. So be very careful with the blue sapphire. And everything's always tested. It's put under the pillow for a week while you sleep to see if you have good results or bad results, because every gem is also in. And then we have our nodes. They use the nodes. So the north node is considered very cold in its effect on the body. And they use a hessonite. A hessonite is a very, very beautiful orange stone. I wish I brought in my book. I would show you what it looked like. Big picture of it. We don't use it much in the West, but a hessonite. And some people use some forms of zircon. But I try to stay away from the nodes because they're much harder to prescribe for, and you get very bizarre results. The south node is considered extremely hot in its effect on the body, and they use a Ketzai, chrysoberyl, Ketzai stone. And the north node projects ultraviolet light, and the south node infrared, which I also think Pluto does. Pluto is very, very deeply heating. It causes sepsis. But, no system has everything. They don't use the outer planets in this system. And, I study all systems, but I try to use what makes sense to me, So, yeah.
Okay. We will create a cheat sheet that will summarize some of the things that we've talked about here today. So make sure you check the show notes for the link to get that, just so you can have a nice little succinct summary here. No. Okay. A couple questions before we go to what's it for. What is a cosmic ray?
What is a cosmic ray? Everything in the universe is made out of vibration, and vibrations have sound. So everything's made out of sound. Everything's also made out of light and color, because we have the great white light of the sun. But every vibration has color rays and radio signals and sound. So when you look at a rainbow, you have your basic 7 color rays. And then, the 2 more added, the nodes. See, Mercury, I was going to Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. There's 9 color rays if you use infrared and ultraviolet, but 7 if you just use your regular color rays, and all kinds of little tones and hues in between them. If you you want to paint your house, you can get those cards with 360 hues on. You could actually associate the hues with different degrees of the zodiac. I taught that one of my last classes. Yeah, my foods class. So you can find your own hue, Amanda, and you can bolster up your complete vital force just giving yourself foods and colors of your hue. So it's amazing. It's amazing. So the color rays, apparently the idea is that the planets have, they have vibrations and they sing music. It's like a little orchestra, little band going on all the time. And they also project their color ray. Jupiter, blue, the moon's is orange, and so forth. And these reach our bodies, apparently coming in through our chakras. There's different theories about how they enter the body. And we have 7 chakras and at least 72,000 nadis, or little subtle channels that distribute these subtle forces of all kinds from the universe. It is very, very useful. And, it's been known, studied in England a lot since the 1800s. And we studied here in the West. But I know in Hawaii, they must believe in subtle channels through the body. Most cultures have some concept of this in acupuncture. But so these come in through the subtle channels, and you can become deficient in a blue light. And in the old days, they would take I forgot how they would do it. They would take a photograph of you in the old kind of photography. I don't know if it would happen on a cell phone. And they would put a prism over it. And curiously, the photograph could look all yellow or all blue. And if you're all yellow, you're burning up and are having probably some Mars problems. You're having acne, or you're having infections or something. So there is a way to tell if a person, off a photograph, if a person is excessive and needs it cooled off or something, or from your chart. So we are made out of vibrations. We're also made out of color. But every person may have a color that's dominant, some dominant color ray, cosmic color ray, and one that's missing and they really need it. So they have anemia. You have anemia and they're tired and fatigued and have no fight in them. And you find, oh my goodness, they have Mars in the 6th house, square Saturn in conjunct the South Node, and it's in Cancer. It's not a good sign for it. So it's certainly useful for a lot of things like that. But so they may need, this person may really need the yellow ray. They may need it, and it'll help with their anemia, help with this, help with that. And if you get it right, you do see some spectacular results. I've gotten a lot of people pregnant.
Nice. Okay, well, let's go there. I'd love to hear some stories, but let's go to if people are out there and like, okay, I do have anemia, or I am trying to get pregnant, or I'm really tired, or I'm trying to lose weight, or whatever. Can you give us a little bit of how we use these? What do we use these specific rays for?
Yeah, they're different. If we'll start with the sun. So again, the sun is the red ray, and you use a red. So the red ruby is used for many, many things. It's used for lack of willpower, lack of strength. It's also very good for blood poisoning, exhaustion, fevers, the adrenal glands. But if you don't have a strong career, or you're lacking power, confidence, you would use it. You ought to be careful with these red rays. You would use it if your chart showed you had a very, very weak sun. And there's another rule. Now, this rule can be got around. There's a way some of the practitioners do it. It's if the sun would rule, or any planet that rules your 8th house, your 6th house, your 12th house, unless it's also ruling a good house. And the 10th is also, 5th, 9th, 10th are considered good. So is the 11th. But if you have a planet ruling 6th, 8th, or 12th, you want to be careful because it could hurt you. The ray could hurt you. So there's some ways to judge this. But if your chart shows you shouldn't use it, you can use it homeopathically. And they take the gems and they make homeopathic tablets out of them. They soak them in the water, and the sugar tablets is the way to do it. It's in some of these old books. And you can make either the planet water and drink it, or you make the homeopathic pellets. You can get these some Ayurvedic stores will sell the planetary tablets. The moon tablets. That means pearl. You get the pearl homeopathic. You get the ruby homeopathic. Now these you can use even if it's not on a good angle in your chart. It's considered not dangerous. I have 2 books where the Indian scientists have worked with this, and they don't care about the houses at all. They just give you the homeopathic you need, sometimes several times. So there's a way around it, but we're talking prescribing the actual gem. Gems are incredibly powerful. You don't want to ever put on a ring lightly. It will change you. They go up a whole, we have palmistry, they go up, they right direct. It's like putting a fire hose on you, up one of your channels. So that's where the homeopathics can be easier. But back to what we're doing. So if we want to use the moon, the orange ray of the moon that you get through the pearl. It's good if you have fevers. It's good if you have weak lungs. It's good if you're all dried up. You don't have enough moisture. And you're having a dry stomach. You're nauseous. You aren't fertile. Women who can't get pregnant, you give them a pearl. Give them a pearl, and the tradition is a pearl with a yellow sapphire. Especially, they have a lot of suns in India. But pearl and yellow sapphire brings suns, but I find it just brings joy. I've found it works very well. And now also, if you are mentally unbalanced or extremely depressed, and you look at your chart and it seems to be relating to a difficulty, then you can wear the pearl. Or if you have the moon ruling the 8th, 6th, or 12th, you might want to be careful and use the homeopathic pearl instead. Okay, so now Mercury is considered very benign. The green ray, the green ray is one of the most benign rays we have because it's balances all other rays. Nature is just filled with this green. The green and blue rays are more benign. Green nature, blue sky. So, and blue water, white. So we have, if you need a Mercury, it's wonderful if you have to take tests. If you have stammering, problems with speech, problems with hearing, you're having intellectual needs, got to take that bar exam. You need to study. It's also good for the lungs, the bowels, bowel function, liver function, functions of the hands and fingers, and for nervous exhaustion. If you're too nervous, there's really wired Geminis that never stop talking. No. You don't want to give them the green emerald if their Mercury is too strong. You want to give them something calm. But if they're wired and burned out because their Mercury is just like squaring Uranus and on the south node and too much hitting it, then they may very much need the green emerald. And they're worn on certain fingers too, by the way, so don't just run out and buy this yet. So certain fingers. So then if you, also Mercury and the moon, green emerald and the white pearl are also good for various forms of mental derangement. So, now Venus, everybody will love to hear about this because we all have to age. So, the indigo ray of the white diamond you use if you're getting old. It's considered to have it's good for all the doshas, all the constitutions. It helps with producing mucus. It helps with producing semen. It helps with making you sexy. It's supposed to help strengthen bones. It's good for love. It's good for becoming more sexy. It helps with bone marrow. And also is supposed to help the kidneys and the ovaries. Because that's what, Venus's ray does. Venus rules kidneys and ovaries. But also, you can use these for professions. If you're a hairdresser or a singer, because it helps the throat too. If you're having to be a person of beauty or even a diplomat, it gives you more charm. Now, it can give you way too much charm. But I've seen that happen where people get a little full of themselves wearing their white diamonds. So, if they're already super pretty, I wouldn't go and get yourself a white diamond. But they're considered pretty benign. If you have, but you might want to be careful with it only if it's way too strong for the chart already. Or if it's usually if it's on the 6th, 8th, or 12th, because it rules 2 signs, it's also ruling a good house. So there are, you need an expert sometimes with this, but you always can use the homeopathic without this problem. Okay, so the Jupiter, Jupiter's the blue ray, and it's a real nice blue ray, kind of like this. Beautiful, beautiful. Primary blue. And curiously, on the artist's color wheel, Sagittarius falls right dead on primary blue. And so it's a joyous, it's a very enlivening color, even though it's blue. It's stimulating. But it's very good for your glands. Very good if you need to put on weight. Nobody wants to put on weight now, but this is considered a wonderful thing in some cultures. I heard that fat was not a big deal in Polynesian cultures or in India. It's actually considered quite beautiful for them. And so, I hope it's okay for me to mention that, but I've heard that many times on documentaries. I'm aware it's not my culture. So it's wonderful for the liver for jaundice, for longevity, mental stability, happiness, luck, prosperity, joy. And for many Jupiterian careers like what you're doing, any kind of promotion, publishing, the web, schools, education, teaching, it rules these things. It also helps the vital force, just like the movie does. There's a story that one Indian scientist bringing back dying kitten using ray, and another almost instantly healing his little daughter of severe bronchitis when all the doctors had failed. And it's also good for epilepsy, I believe, and inflammation. They use it, generally for good luck. It's a lovely, and for marriage, it's just a good guy. Okay, so the Saturn, the doozy. Okay, Saturn is that beautiful violet ray of Saturn. It's projected through a blue sapphire. Blue sapphire gives the violet ray. And you use this if you are unstable, if you are lacking good bones, if you're getting both the white diamond and the blue sapphire are noted to help bones. Really help your bones. It's if you are certain kinds of insanity and instability, if it's caused by just having a real knocked off base Saturn, because that's our groundwork. The person is too jangled, too frenetic, too sensitive, you can use Saturn. You can use this blue sapphire for skin diseases, for old age. Also, it has a lot to do with career success, as we know. So if the person is never able to get ahead, and it seems that their natal Saturn is responsible, you can use the Saturn. Be very, very, very careful with it, but you can use the homeopathic. And it's a good, it's supposed to help produce antibodies and also prevent fainting spells, dizziness, grounding. Now, if you're an architect, It's wonderful. Or a farmer, because anything you're dealing with, form, structure, the earth, long-term efforts. Now, wearing a blue sapphire, again, some of the practitioners in India won't even prescribe it. And it should always be prescribed, again, for safety. You're wearing the gem with a white diamond or a green emerald. Its friends, they soften. And only, certain, you don't want to use it if it rolls your 8th, 6th, or 12th. Because it rolls 2 signs, this is often hard. So I look at a chart, people have different approaches, and you see this in the literature. My approach is if it's super weak and missing, person is unstable, they're skinny, they aren't able to get along in their career. Oh, that sounds like a Saturn problem. And I may think about it as a homeopathic, even if I did see it in their 8th house. If you're missing Saturn, it's so weak, you may need it. You may need this grounding ray. You got to use your noggin in learning to make prescriptions. That's why the planet waters and the homeopathics are so much safer and easier, So I kind of stayed away from the nodes, but apparently to prevent tragic death and horrible misfortune, they will give a hezonite, a stone of the north. And you see, they're nice. The astrologers in India, they will tell it like it is. You look like you're going to die in a month of this. They don't, different culture. Okay, so here's a hezonite. This might help in certain circumstances. They can use it for some kinds of drug addictions, really intense stuff. I kind of stay away from it. It's pretty hard to tell if it's the cause of something in a chart. You usually look at it through what planet disposited. It's much more, you have to be quite advanced. And however, the ultraviolet ray is used for misfortune, is used for, misfortune's hyperacidity. The body is hyperacid. The person is too hypersexed, hyper greedy, manic, having fevers. But this is the weird part. Sometimes they give the stone that some of the authorities will give the stone that would seem to make the problem worse, and others do the opposite stuff. So when you're having mania and fevers, you're too hot. And that's why the ultraviolet ray of the hezonite, super cold, cools you down. So now if you're, for the south node, they use this for preventing drowning, for misfortune, for leprosy. They use the cat's eye. These are difficult things to talk about. They're not pleasant. But they say though, wearing the cat's eye can cause bronchitis or fevers, probably because it's so very hot. So I wouldn't wear a stone that gives us ultraviolet or infrared. They're very extreme energies. You do have to know what you're doing. I have never prescribed the gems of the nodes. And I'm just thinking, there's just too little literature, not enough examples. Looked at everything.
Okay, question for you. Because red light therapy and also lasers that you use ultraviolet light or infrared light, these are big healing tools and technologies. Do similar rules apply? I mean, would a practitioner want to be paying attention to whether or not, will want to be paying attention to the person's chart to know whether or not they would respond favorably to those types of treatments? And would it follow similar rules, or is this just about gems?
Well, it would follow similar rules astrologically, sure, Amanda, such as if a person was a triple fire sign and they had Mars and Leo conjunct their moon. And, Princess Margaret had this kind of chart. And, they're doing things, their behavior is very fiery, and then they start having fire sign problems and, problems with their heart or whatever it might be. You do not want to give them a cat's eye infrared light. You do not. So your question is, does it extend to like No, they wouldn't want infrared therapy.
Hmm.
They're already receiving too much red and yellow rays. They're already overheated on the unseen level that's coming in through their chakras and hearts. Yeah. Or say
Wow.
the person's born in the middle of winter at midnight with the dark of the moon, Aquarius, dark of the moon. They're almost always depressed this time. They're lacking light and they're having cold extremities and low blood pressure or high blood pressure because they're developing plaques in their vessels and their fluids are hanging down around their ankles. They're always just depressed. Abraham Lincoln was the case of this. So was Virginia Woolf, two Aquarians. And they're just so skinny and depressed. And, okay, you do not want to give them a hesodite projecting an ultraviolet hyper cold ray. They're already cold. They need to be warmed up with sunlight. They need the sunlight. They need a red ruby probably. And, so you have to be careful with the extremes and the chart will show you. The chart usually doesn't. I'd say all the decades I've seen charts every day, maybe I've only met 2 people who did not seem to fit what I was looking at. It puzzled me what I was looking at. As you know, you've been in astrology a long time with the hub. It works.
It's still surprising every time because it's just like magical on some level, but yes, it works. So can you give us a few examples of times you've seen this really work? Like somebody was having an issue, you prescribed a certain gem and the issue was resolved.
Yeah. One of my favorite cases, it was one of those very rare times that I thought it was okay to use blue sapphire alone. I had a gentleman and he had contacted me with a very lot of pain in his back that nobody could diagnose or cure. And I looked at the chart and everything in the chart was compatible with Saturn. And so, he was, everything was like Capricorn rising, of course, everything was ruled by Saturn. And Saturn was in a happy place, but it was badly afflicted. But he was the ultimate Saturnian. I think his chart was probably in Capricorn rising and he was in Aquarius and the moon was in Capricorn. It was just all, but he was the ultimate Saturnian. And his problem wasn't an excess of Saturn. It was a weakness in Saturn. He was having a problem with his bones and his back. And it was really bothering him. So I said, well, don't usually do this, but try sapphire. And he did it right. It has to be done we won't show the finger. It's the flip the bird finger. And don't do that. But I had him, you have to do it on a certain day for the first time. Put it on for the first time on a certain day. And you have to have it set in a certain manner. You could talk to me about that if you want. Of course. And he put it on and he wrote me and he says, I've had this on for a week. My back problem is completely cleared up. Unbelievable. He needed his own ray. He was a Saturnian, but it was somehow knocked out of commission.
It's amazing how much we've lost this kind of knowledge. We just throw on jewelry because it looks good and matches our outfit or, whatever we're doing. So that's fascinating. Do you have another story that you want to share or do you want to tell us a little bit about like how to actually use them if we want to?
Yeah. And I do have, I was going to say that I've looked at all 5 or 6 different of the best sources and I compared all of their settings and I combined them so everybody could see everybody's opinion on how to set them in one book, all about astrology and your vital force. And it has 2 chapters on this and all the settings because they're very, I'll show you how they vary. But if you say, okay, the red coral, the yellow cosmic ray, strengthens a natal or transit weekend Mars. This could be temporary transit. So setting in first wear rules, first wearing, they want a minimum 6 carats, or although 9, 11, or 12 are best. Bhattacharjee says 7 to 12 carats. And Kapoor says no less than 6. You see, you have variation in the writers. Tuesday was best, but you can use Thursday, Sunday, and always have a waxing moon in Aries, Scorpio, or Capricorn. Why? because Aries and Scorpio are ruled by Mars, and Capricorn is the exaltation, the strength. And you have to do it between sunrise and 11 a.m. Though Brown and Kapoor say 1 hour after sunrise. Okay, I've been comparing all these texts. The metal should be a mixture of copper and gold. Brown prefers gold, and next he prefers silver. And you should wear it in the ring finger of the right hand. So this is from like 6 different authors, and I'm looking where all the differences are, putting them all down in one text.
Amazing. And tell us the name of the text again for our podcast friends who might not be able to see it.
It's Astrology and Your Vital Force, Healing with Cosmic Rays and DNA Resonance.
Wow. Very cool, Judith. You are amazing.
Well, this is a wild, crazy book that wasn't even edited. It was right off just a manuscript I put together, but it's very interesting stuff in here.
Oh yeah, definitely. Judith, this is all amazing. I'm sure people are very excited to learn more from you. And you are going to be teaching with us next week. Can you tell a little bit about the workshop that you'll be teaching on the 12 zodiac signs? What are the students going to learn?
Oh yeah, I can't wait. I just love this subject. So every single sign has a different kind of vital force and its own body part rulerships, its own functions in the body, its own organs, and its own idiosyncrasies, odd little quirks. And it is so much fun to talk about this, but it is so useful. And you will find about 3/4 of people born in those signs will exhibit a lot of these traits. And even if they don't, their vital force will still have this quality. And they'll have little tendencies in certain directions. So we're going to be discussing each of the 12 signs with some really beautiful slides and just going through them. Going through zodiacal man, the old system known as Melothesia from ancient Greece, where actually some of it goes back to, they found the earliest evidence in a tomb of Ramses the 4th or 5th, and where the body parts are related to the ecliptic plane. And so you're going to learn about your sign. Are you a Taurus? Are you a Virgo? Are you a Libra? And just with that, it's the most basic part of medical astrology or astrological medicine. What does that mean? What can you learn? How can you use this information in your life? And it's very, very relevant. I've been studying people physically and their charts since I was about 13 years old. Just obsessed. I don't know why. An odd child, studying people's feet and everything in high school. I don't know what my parents thought. Anyway. So, it was very valuable because I started to notice certain things. And then I would, 10 years would go by and I'd find some writer. They had noticed the exact same things. And then some cartoonist would be, drawing that flat butt you often see on Libras. I noticed that, there's these types, these funny things that would pop up. And, it's like, oh. And then I really got into it with research. So I know this works and I want to share what
Amazing. Amazing. Okay. So if you all are interested in joining us for that, you can go to astrologyhub.com/workshop. When you go to that page, you'll learn all about the whole workshop series, of which Judith's workshop is one of 3. So you can either, if all you want to do is learn from Judith and learn about health and learn about the zodiac signs, you can sign up for Judith's class as an individual class. But if you're interested in the entire series with Georgia Stathis and Michael Bryan, the 3 subject areas are health, wealth, and fulfillment. If you want to get all 3, you can get 3 workshops for the price of 2. So if you're remotely interested, now would be a great time to jump in, check it out. You'll get to join for Judith's live Q&A next week. And it's an amazing series. So hopefully you'll be able to check that out at astrologyhub.com/workshop. Judith, we're so honored that you're teaching on our platform. We're just so excited to have you here because you really are one of the best teachers of medical astrology in the world. And so anybody even remotely interested in applying what they know about astrology or what they're learning about astrology to their physical body. How do I use this to have more vitality, more health, to even treat certain ailments and things that I'm working with? Medical astrology is mind blowing, as you got to experience here today on the podcast. So check it out. And this workshop of all the three is going to be really, really great for any level of astrology background. So if you really just only know your sun sign, you're still going to be able to benefit. If you know more than your sun sign, you're going to get to benefit even more, because if you start to know aspects and things like that, you'll be able to apply it even more. But there's enough to get just, for those of you who are like, I don't know as much about my chart, but I still want to be using astrology. Anything you'd want to add to that, Judith?
Yeah, this workshop will be extremely useful and entertaining to, as Amanda said, both beginners and advanced and pros and the health practitioners. It will, even if you aren't, know anything about medical astrology, you can use this information. If you are a pro, you can use the information. And I also wanted to say, Amanda, that, and to tell the audience that, Georgia Stathis and Michael Bryan are both my colleagues. Amanda could not have picked a more wonderful, two people here to bring in this program.
Oh, thanks, Judith. I know when it all came together, it was like, oh my God, this is like the coolest lineup ever. These astrologers are so amazing, and you complement each other really, really well. So yes, really looking forward to it. Judith, thank you for everything that you've shared with us here today. Can't wait for next week. If you're listening to this and it's far beyond September of 2023, go to that link, still astrologyhub.com/workshop. You'll be able to get the entire series in recorded format, so you can study at your own pace. So it's not too late. You can still get it. You won't get the live version, but you'll still get the recorded version. So you can check that out now. Also, if you want the cheat sheet, the summary that we've put together for a lot of the different things that Judith has shared here today, you can check out the show notes and get the link for that as well. That'll be free and available to all of you. All right. Judith, thank you so much. It's been so much fun. You're incredible. You're just an amazing, amazing astrologer. Every single time I get to sit with you, I learn so much. And I know that our audience agrees with that. So thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to speak to the Hubsters. And I always enjoy it very, very much. Thank you, Amanda.
I love how you call it the Hubsters. It's so cute. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for being a part of our community. Thank you for being a Hubster. And we'll catch you on the next episode.